back to the channel, or welcome to the channel, whichever one it may be. And if you are new here, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment, do all those wonderful things, and join me for more. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into this video. Today I'm going to be working on this diamond painting of a heart, and this is going to be for Have a Heart, Eat a Brain event being hosted by Dark and Creepy Diamond Painting. Go ahead and check out her channel for more information on that, or to see more of that. Anyway, that is what I'm going to be working on, and we're going to be going ahead and delving back into these Fables, Myths, and Legends series. I know it's been a heartbeat since I last did one of these, but we're going to go ahead and get into it. And so I am going to change it up a little bit. I have decided to forego the usual storytelling that I would do at the beginning and just kind of jump right into our myth for today, because we are going to be covering a myth. Today's myth is going to be focused upon dragons, Western dragons, European dragons. So let's go ahead and get into this. The dragon, a great mythological creature. He breathes fire and guards his hoard of treasures. But did you know he's not the first iteration of the dragon, just the one we know and love today? In fact, the Western dragon goes back to Greek mythology. I'm calling him the Western dragon because you may know of a different dragon in Eastern lore. Today, though, I am only going to focus on our European friend. And we're going to just go ahead and hop into his history, starting back with the Greeks. Greek dragons are hybrids that came from Babylon. The Babylonian dragon, the Masusu, is a scaly animal with the hind legs of an eagle, lion-like forelimbs, a long neck and tail, 2 horns, a crest, and a snake-like tongue. This creature is the baseline for the Greek dragon. As I said, Greek dragons are hybrids. In fact, the Greeks believed that Satan was a dragon, a great flaming red with 7 heads and 10 horns. It seems as though a lot of Greek monsters have multiple heads. Let's look at some other Greek dragons. Dragons in Greek mythology usually guard treasure. There is a 100-headed dragon who was slain by Hercules, and again, he's got many heads. He was guarding a tree, and in this tree was the nymphs of evening, or golden lights of sunset. Then there's Python, who surprisingly is most similar to a European friend. He was the guardian of the muse of Delphi. He was slain by Apollo for tormenting Apollo's mother. Also, there's the Hydra, another many-headed serpent who is also slain by Hercules. Man, that Hercules guy, he's getting along around and he is slaying some things. But anyway, the Hydra would grow 2 heads for every head that was slain. So if you chopped one off, 2 more would grow back in its place. The Hydra is also a constellation in the night sky, and it was just believed to have been a dragon. Even though I do believe the Hydra is a water creature, but it was believed to be a dragon. Then there is the Roman dragons. We have the Greeks and there's the Romans. Roman dragons start to take on the look of our European friend, yet they are still more serpentine. They're used as a symbol for armies. The Dacian Draco military standard, or the dragon symbol. The symbol was fixed to the end of a lance and used in, of course, wartime and military applications. So obviously the Romans believed that dragons gave power, brought power, presented power, of some sort, and thus they use them towards military. Allusions of dragons appear in the Old Testament. So dragons are even mentioned in the Bible. There's many mentions of dragons, but here is one, Deuteronomy 32:33. Their wine is the venom of serpents, the deadly poison of cobras. And then we have Job 30:29. I am the brother to dragons and a companion to owls. There was also many in Psalms and other parts of the Old Testament. I didn't go too much into looking into them, but I did look up a few of them in my own Bible. The Celtics, of course, we know that they believed in dragons because they were all over their stuff, a symbol of their life. Their dragon is believed to have derived from ancient folklore of the Middle East and Greece. Their dragons are more serpent-like in the belief that a serpent was a guardian spirit in both Greek and Roman mythology. So they took on the same beliefs as the Greeks and the Romans, sort of. The Greeks and the Romans have a different belief, but their belief was almost kind of similar, and they pulled it in, so their dragons had that serpent-like, snake-like appearance. The first known use of a dragon by the Celts appears in swords and sheaths from the 4th century BC, so they were also putting it on their military weapons, similar to the Romans. Now, we're going to move towards the Middle Ages. The dragon makes an appearance change. During this time, European culture was largely out of contact with classical literature, so they weren't getting the same cultural alliterations as, per se, our Eastern dragon friends. So the descriptions and drawings of dragons, they're still snake-like, but now they have wings and legs. The body of a lizard or snake with lizard legs and breathes fire, with bat-like wings growing from its back. There is also mention of feather wings as well, but most of the time we think of the dragons with the bat-like wings. The dragon, Fafnir, from Old Norse, around 1030 AD, the Viking Age, is described as a long, wingless snake. So even the Vikings had dragons. Of course, I'm pretty sure we knew that. Wasn't it on their ship when they went out to sail? Our friend, the modern-style dragon, is finally starting to appear. He shows up in he shows up in M.S. Harley's Bestiary of 1260 AD. It has 2 pairs of wings and 2 pairs of legs to go with them and a long whip-like tail. The 4-legged dragon is not seen again until 15th century. So this M.S. Harley wrote in his Bestiary about a dragon with 4 legs, but it's not seen again for a while. The Arthurian legend of a white and red dragon in a fight. The red dragon symbolizing the Welsh, and the white the Saxons. The beasts were used to tell of a time when a leader would come to liberate the Welsh. So this actually happened with the Welsh and the Saxons, where I think it's the Welsh came in, the Saxons won, but then the Welsh was going to come back, or somehow be liberated from them. I didn't go into that history part. I just looked at the dragon aspect of it. In European folklore, dragons are usually portrayed as evil, except by the Welsh and Arthurian, and of course, our modern stories. So, for the most part, dragons are portrayed as evil. In late medieval times, the dragon is a huge lizard-like creature with wings and horns and the ability to breathe fire. So here's our dragon. There he is. He shows up finally, and he is in the medieval times. He may have 2 or 4 legs and a large muscular tail. Even though the dragon has wings, it's usually found in its cave, filled with gold and treasure. He might also be found in a castle. It's a cave or a castle, and they're usually found even underground or inside of things. So even though they have wings, they're going inside. Now, we're heading into the Middle Ages. Our friend is beginning to materialize, and more, he's bringing some of his well-known friends along with him. The gargoyles, for instance. There's a French myth that goes back, bringing and blending these 2 myths together, gargoyles and dragons. The people of the town of Rouen would offer a dragon human sacrifice. I'm not even sure if I said that name right, by the way.
Who's scratching at the door?
It is a French town, I know that. But they would offer a human sacrifice once each year to appease the hunger of the dragon because they believed that the dragon, Le Gargoyle, was causing floods and sinking ships inside of their river and just causing all around general havoc. So once a year, if they gave him a sacrifice, he would then have his hunger appeased, wouldn't be hungry, wouldn't cause problems, and they would be okay. But a priest named Romanus slays the dragon, and then he takes the severed head of the dragon and mounts it up on the walls of the city for all to see, and this is known to be the first gargoyle. By the late Middle Ages, the dragon and wyvern separate. So before this, our serpentine friend the wyvern and our 4-legged, bat-winged, fire-breathing, lizard-like creature that we know were merged together in a way. So now our dragon has the 4 legs, and the wyvern has 2 legs. Wyverns are associated as being with viciousness, envy, and pestilence, but they're also known to overthrow tyranny and Satan. So wyverns are known to be vicious, envy, and cause disease, but they might also be good and help in overthrowing tyranny and Satan. We're going to go ahead and start taking some look at other types of dragons, because there are some that are not quite dragons, but are still kind of in the dragon lore. So we have the cockatrice, a serpent that hatches from an egg laid on a dunghill by a rooster. The cockatrice is so venomous that its breath and gaze are instantly lethal to any living creature except the weasel. The weasel is the only thing to survive and is apparently the only known enemy of the cockatrice. There's also the basilisk, a serpent with the head of a dragon at the end of its tail. The basilisk is born when a toad hatches an egg that has been laid in a midden by a 9-year-old cockatrice. Very, very precise. Got to be just that right moment and have all those factors and be hatched by a toad. Okay. Its glare is deadly to those who look into its eyes. In some cases, it breathes fire. In others, it leaves a trail of venomous slime that instantly lethal. So if you were to touch the slime, walk in the slime, you would just instantly die. The mongoose is the basilisk's mortal enemy. So first we have the weasel, now we have the mongoose, which I do believe the mongoose is in the weasel family, so there's still the weasel. Also, if you see it in reflection, you turn to stone. So if you happen to gaze upon it through a mirror, you would turn to stone. But Leonardo da Vinci wrote of the basilisk in his bestiary. He says, "It is so utterly cruel that when it cannot kill animals by its baleful gaze, it turns upon herbs and plants, and fixing its gaze on them, withers them up." That's a dragon right there. We have seen the basilisk, and many of us know how it is slain. You know how it's slain, right? Right, you know? Sword of Gryffindor, of course. Harry Potter slays it. Anyway, taking a look into the history of dragons is intriguing to be sure, but would not be complete without art and illustration, visual depictions for us to see and gain insight into these fabulous creatures. There is St. George and the Dragon, an illustration found in a manuscript from the 6th century, the Golden Legend. It speaks of a town, and in this town, they're getting attacked by a dragon, and the dragon is eating their sheep. And one day, it eats a shepherd. So the people of the town decide to feed the dragon the sheep. But then they run out of sheep. What do they do when they run out of sheep? Well, they start feeding the dragon their children by creating a lottery of sorts. Kind of sounds Hunger Game-ish to me, if you ask me. It sounded a little bit like the Hunger Games, but these poor kids are being strapped to a rock, chained there, and stuck to stay there until they're eaten by the dragon. As it so happens, though, the king's daughter comes up in the lottery, and then she has to be chained to the rock. The king begs and pleads for her life, but the townspeople will not have it. They have sent their children, and so he must also send his. While she is out chained on that rock, waiting for the dragon to come eat her, St. George shows up. He is immediately drawn to her beauty. And so, when the dragon comes, he thrusts a pike into the dragon, not killing it, but just cowing it a little bit. And then he takes her girdle and wraps it around the dragon's neck, and he makes the sign of the cross. He then leads the dragon, now docile, back into the town where the townspeople are waiting to find out if the dragon has killed the princess, but he brings the still living princess with him, and he tells the townspeople that he will slay the dragon for them if they will change over to Christianity. Then he marries the princess. I'm guessing they probably chose the Christianity route and let him slay their dragon. So, there's also the Welsh flag, who has a red dragon on the flag itself. And we talked about this dragon a little bit earlier, so kind of the Welsh and Anyway, the time has come for us to finally see our European dragon. He is now always depicted with 4 legs and bat-like wings. He may have a barbed tongue or tail. Dragons are rarely depicted as coward. This would be acting like an animal in fear with its tail tucked between its legs. Usually dragons are depicted as standing up straight on their 4 legs, or having one leg slightly raised, or rearing up as though in attack. He is usually an emblem of greed. There is more to a dragon than just greed. Dragons have long been portrayed as greedy treasure hoarders, lusting for gold and precious gems. The theft of his treasure sparks a dragon's fury. Dragons have also been depicted in a more positive light, though, as allies and protectors, like the Welsh dragon, and also the brother dragon of Poland. Increasingly, dragons are becoming depicted as intelligent and noble creatures, while still remaining the fearsome beasts of legend. They are shown as guarding and having a close relationship with an individual human. The discovery of the fossil Pterosaurus changed the depiction of the dragon to be without the front legs. And when walking, it would walk similar to the pterosaur in that it would walk on its hind legs and the wrists of its wings and that was very interesting to hear because it kind of fits with the dragons you ride in some video games. They walk on their wings and their hind legs instead of on their forelegs. Dragons, being great creatures of power, intelligence, and nobility, have made their way into our hearts through literature. So now we get to take a look at some of the books that have been written with dragons in them. For instance, J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings, his Silmarillion, and The Hobbit all have dragons. Anne McCaffrey has an entire series about dragons, the Dragon Riders of Pern. I read this series. I actually really enjoyed it. Ursula K. Le Guin, I don't even know how to say that name, so I'm not going to try. Their book is Earthsea. I don't know much about that one, but interesting. Christopher Paolini's Aragon. I'm sure some of you have read that. There was a whole series of 3 books, I do believe. I know I read them. The movie wasn't the same, but there was a movie. There are many books depicting dragons, and I'm sure you can think of your favorite because, yeah, there are many, many books with dragons. Books about evil dragons, good dragons, dragons in that gray area between good and evil. And personally, I've always loved a good dragon who's wise and friendly to those who it protects. We even see dragons in film and television. I did just mention a movie, so here we have more. Think of your own favorite dragon movie. Maybe it's How to Train Your Dragon, Dragonheart, Pete's Dragon, Dragon Slayer, Reign of Fire, or that new Netflix movie, Damsel. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a pretty good movie. Definitely worth a watch. All of these are good movies, some lighthearted and fun, others, well, not so much. Reign of Fire was pretty terrifying. Dragons also appear in the games we love to play. And some of these games we have played over and over again, even amassing many hours of gameplay. Yeah, I have over 1,500 hours of gameplay in Ark Survival Evolved. And in that game, you get to ride a wyvern, which is a dragon-like creature, and this creature does walk on its wings in the front and its hind legs in the back. But I do say it looks more like a regular dragon. There is also a major boss fight where you fight the dragon, the big European dragon that we all know and love, the one with the 4 legs, the big leathery bat-like wings, the barbed tail, the spines that you see going up the back and into the head, and that almost horse-like head that the dragons have that we know and love. Some other games with dragons are Elder Scrolls, Borderlands 2, Dragon's Crown, Drakengard, Final Fantasy, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, and even Mario. Just to name a few. You might have even played some not named because there are many games with dragons. So let's not forget the most famous game that has dragons. You all know it. You're probably already thinking about it. Yes, Dungeons and Dragons, of course, the RPG game that is played amongst a group of people using books and writings. Sometimes they have game boards and pieces. I think there's even a couple PC games based around this. There's even a movie based around this. This game is played with a dungeon master who reads out the scenario to the players. They pick their part, they roll the dice, and they either win or fail, depending upon how that dice roll goes. I personally have never played D&D, but I've always found it fascinating and interesting, and even thought about joining in at one point in my life. Just never got into it though because I was too busy playing Final Fantasy. We can lose ourselves in dragon lore, forget about our daily woes, or feel as though the dragon is there helping us get through the day. He is our friend now and not our enemy, yet he is still deadly. And don't forget, you can't touch his hoard of gold. Don't do that. He's still going to get mad at you. Even if he's your friend, he's probably still going to not like you for touching his gold. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this myth of dragons. Can you think of a fable for our next adventure? Where should we go? What should we go into? We're still over in Europe. I'm sure there's plenty of fables over there. Any European friends know of any? But that is it. You have entered the realm of fables, myths, and legends. And we have looked at another myth. I do hope you have enjoyed. So thank you for joining and listening along as we talked about our friend, the dragon.